Morning, Rotary District 7770. Welcome to Conversations with Rotary Action People for Monday, September 13th. My name is Donald Hovis, and I'm your CWRAP host. I come to you from the Chicora Rotary Club in beautiful Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Pleased to have you join with us today. I will give a special shout out to Miss Mary Gask, who is my co-host. And she is responsible for setting up all of our wonderful speakers, including our speaker today, Ambassador Ed McMullen. So, Ed, Mary, thank you for what you do. All right. So, fellow Rotarians here in the Zoom call, thanks for being here as well. Hope everyone had a wonderful Labor Day. Hopefully, you enjoyed your 2-week break. But we're back. We're back, and we've got a great speaker lined up for you today. So, in the chat box, let's hear how you enjoyed your 2-week break from CWRAP. Did you go on a vacation? Did you go on a trip? Did you go anywhere? Did you have something good to eat? Did you celebrate something? Did you have a birthday, an anniversary? Did you retire? All kind of stuff. You know, things are always happening. So tell us what you've been doing in the chat box, and please make sure you put your Rotary Club along with that. So here is a bio on our speaker today, Ambassador Ed McMullen. Prior to his appointment as ambassador, he was the president of McMullen Public Affairs, an advertising and corporate public affairs company. In the 2002 election, he was a candidate in the Republican primary for South Carolina's Secretary of State. McMullen was involved with Trump's successful 2016 presidential campaign, acting as chairman of the candidate's South Carolina Republican primary efforts, and helped plan the 2016 Republican National Convention, serving as Trump's transition team and as the vice chair of the Trump Inaugural Committee. Mr. Ambassador Ed McMullen is the US Ambassador to Switzerland, and we're so honored to have him with us today. So, Ambassador McMullen, thanks for being here.
Great, thank you very much. It's good to be with you. We're going to go ahead and add a split screen here with some photos that I can walk you through that'll make this a little more interesting, I think, for some of the listeners. And Mary, thank you for the invite and your patience. I know it's been difficult to try and schedule this, but this is my first Rotary by Zoom. So it's my first experience, but not my first Rotary. I actually was a Rotary member in the Columbia Club for many years, which I think is the largest in the state still. And I spoke to them not long ago, and really appreciate the opportunity to speak here with y'all today. What I thought I'd do is just walk you through, give you an overview of being ambassador to Switzerland and how it came about, and actually how an ambassador goes through his time as ambassador. I was there for 3 years, a little more than 3 years, and I'm not a career ambassador. I'm actually a political appointee. And about 50% of our ambassadors, US ambassadors, are political appointees. And that's the history that goes far back to Thomas Jefferson and Benjamin Franklin, who were our first emissaries overseas and were political ambassadors. The importance of a political ambassador is that they have a relationship with the president. And particularly in Europe and some of the larger countries like Russia and China, you frequently find ambassadors have to have that relationship to be able to convey the exacting scenarios of what's going on and be able to get the president to actually interact with the country that they're representing in ways that makes it a little more difficult for the career ambassadors. But the career team that I had in Bern, which is the capital of Switzerland, everyone thinks it's Geneva. Geneva is actually the NGO capital, where much of the UN and human rights and other trade issues are undertaken. But as the bilateral ambassador, I was our ambassador to Switzerland and Liechtenstein. So this is the swearing in with my family. The vice president swore me in. It was an amazing experience. I had friends and family, and president of my college was there. It was really an amazing experience. Hold on, we're going to try and move forward here. Okay. Becoming ambassador is an interesting situation. Once you become ambassador, the president gives you a very clear directive of what he expects for your foreign policy objectives in the country that you're representing. My wife and I arrived here. This is my wife, Margaret Ann. This is myself with the president getting those directives. Then we have here the arrival in Bern. This is the residence on the right. This is Blumenrain, which is an absolutely beautiful residence in the middle of Bern, right next to the embassy, actually, which is rare. And we had an amazing view. You'll see in a little bit of the Jungfrau and all that's behind in the backyard. Was just a beautiful residence, and we felt very blessed to be able to call it home. We have here the first thing you do is you present your credentials to the president. This is President Doris Leitard, who was one of the first female presidents in Switzerland. She was became a very good friend. On the right is my team that was with me, my defense attaché and others from the embassy. But we got along extremely well and made it very clear that Switzerland, which traditionally has not been very important in foreign relations, was going to be very important for this administration. The president believed that business opportunities were very important to have investment, grow the investment in Switzerland, and also the Swiss investment in the United States, which we set out to do. The first meeting I had here, I don't know if you can see that because I see nothing but people on the side. Can you see the photo? You can, okay. This is actually about 300 of the top CEOs and chairmen of the boards. It's one of the first speeches I made to the Swiss business community, making very clear that what we had to do was to focus on business, foreign direct investment, jobs that needed to come into the United States from Switzerland, and also jobs from the US into Switzerland, and also Liechtenstein, but also the research, the technology, the relationship that needed to grow. Traditionally, Switzerland had been very much a banking issue for the United States. Two administrations, the Bush and Obama administrations, had dealt with Switzerland in a very tough way over their banking issues. We wanted to put that behind us and move forward and create the positive relationship that we were successful in actually accomplishing. The previous photo you saw was the president, the World Economic Forum. Many of you here know that as Davos. That was this here as well. The president came to Davos twice. A very important meeting for international relations because you get these bilateral meetings. He did 19 bilateral meetings between himself and presidents of other countries. Extremely one-on-one, excellent opportunities. This is the bilateral meeting we had with Switzerland, and it was very successful. At that meeting, the president made very clear that America first did not mean America alone, that we needed to have a very strong relationship with NATO, despite the fact that we believed NATO needed to pay their fair share. He wanted to make that case, and it was early on in the administration that he was able to reach out to European leaders, Asian leaders, leaders from around the world to make that case directly. We also had many opportunities for engaging the business community. This is an apprenticeship signing. You'll see it's very unprecedented, where we had numerous members of the president's cabinet, also from the Swiss cabinet, the head of the treasury from Switzerland and others, promoting the apprenticeship program that Switzerland uses extremely effectively. And we're using it more and more in the United States, and it's helping really develop workforce development for young people in the sense that, we're always trying to fill people for new jobs. The Swiss do it very well. They start giving kids options, students options early on, and around the 9th, 10th grade, they actually work their ways through companies. One of the people I got to know very well was the chairman of the board of UBS Bank. The UBS Bank chairman actually started as an apprentice at UBS Bank 30 years before he became chairman of the board. He worked his way up through the company. So you can see how well that program really does work. Here is one of the more interesting speeches. It's very rare that an ambassador is asked to speak to the Europa Institute in Zurich. This is the Winston Churchill podium, and you'll see behind me there is the plaque that recognizes when Winston Churchill gave that speech in September 1946, right after the war. It's a famous speech where he said, it's time for Europe to arise and come out of the ashes. And that became the start of what was the EU. My speech was to talk about how important Europe was in the United States with investment, economic development, but also from a foreign policy perspective. It was extremely well received. And fortunately, the media was very good to me in Switzerland. I never had a negative article written, knock on wood. That's very rare to get through 3 years of an ambassadorship without that. Here we had, this is the Secretary of State of Switzerland, Mr. Cassis. When Venezuela started to fall apart, it looked like we were going to need a protecting power to go in and take care of our embassy. Switzerland stood up, as they have for many years in Iran. They've been our protecting power because we don't have an embassy in Iran. We have no diplomats in Iran. So Switzerland fills in that void. One of the things that I thought was very interesting was when the new president came in, President Uli Maurer, who you see on the screen here next to the President Trump. President Maurer said to me, Ambassador, there's never been a bilateral meeting in the Oval Office. And, that's really a shame that Switzerland's never had that opportunity. So I called President Trump and I let him know what President Maurer had said. And he said, well, we need to fix that. Within 3 weeks, President Maurer and myself were in Washington in the Oval Office. This meant a great deal to the Swiss because it showed the importance of our focus on that country. Many people don't understand the importance of Switzerland. While it is only about, I think it's, right when I got there, it was the 8th largest foreign direct investor in the United States. Today, I set the goal of making it the 6th largest foreign direct investor. And when I left, we actually achieved that goal. It was the great work of the embassy team, fantastic foreign policy leaders from the State Department, but also the locally employed staff, the Swiss who helped us do that. But in this meeting, we spent a lot of time discussing a free trade agreement, which we made great progress on. And we're hoping this new administration will continue because the Swiss really do want to be trading with the United States in ways that would be unprecedented if we were able to do that with the trade agreement. Here was the tax treaty signing with Switzerland. This is a treaty that had been lingering for almost 10 years in the Senate. And when I knew the importance the Swiss placed on it, and frankly, the US policy as well, I went to Washington, met with senators, and was able to unclog it. And we got that signed within weeks of getting back. And that was a huge progress that we made. And I think no one thought we could do it. We did it. And I was very pleased that we could leave with that. This is Prince Alois. This is in Liechtenstein. Liechtenstein is a little country of 30-some thousand people, but one of the most prosperous countries in the world. The average income in Liechtenstein is about 160,000 per citizen. And Prince Alois is a hereditary prince. He's not the kind of prince that sits around and goes to cocktail parties. He's actually a very strong business family. They're very focused, and they are the wealthiest royal family in Europe. He became a very good friend. He loves South Carolina. He loves the United States. He spent a lot of time here. And this is the celebration of their 300th anniversary. We have no embassy in Liechtenstein, and I spent more time in Liechtenstein than any ambassador previous, but they were very honored that we took the time to come and celebrate. We moved the embassy to Liechtenstein for the day to do the celebration at the winery, and it really meant a lot to them. We have, if you look at the South Carolina State House, the House and Senate microphones, just as they are in Congress, they're all made in Liechtenstein. Most of the implants and dental things that go into your mouth, most of that is made by a company in Liechtenstein. All the rice that you get, about 80% of the rice that you buy that's made in the United States is owned by the Liechtenstein family. So it really is something that very few people have a clue where it is, don't really understand it, but this is a family that is very serious, very pro-American, and a great friend of the United States. If you look at the achievements, and this was really for me the most important thing, when I got to Switzerland, I moved the commerce director from the basement into my first floor suites to ensure that everyone knew that we were serious. And while the country is less than 1% of the US in size, Switzerland is actually the sixth largest now foreign direct investor in the United States. They're beating out huge countries throughout the world to be that. Cumulative direct investment is 310 billion. Over 500 Swiss companies are active in the United States, with more than 25 in South Carolina, and a new one coming in at the end of this month to do a huge and new investment that I've been working on, continuing to work even though I've left the ambassadorship. Swiss investment has created over 500,000 jobs, 500,000 jobs in the United States. And the average income from those jobs is about $102,000. And if you see the graph there, you can see the impressive increase in investment. This is one of the most memorable things that I did in Switzerland. I don't know if any of you saw this, but the president was determined to bring home the hostages that were left in Iran. Many of them American, all of them American citizens who had been there for years, and no one had done anything to get them home. This was Dr. Wang. He was a Princeton professor, an American naturalized citizen who absolutely loves this country. And when he got off that plane, was so emotional, as you can see when I gave him the flag of the United States. I just met with him about a month ago. He wanted to get together. He's writing a book about his experience. A truly amazing patriot who has a story to tell about what he endured. We have lots of people who today talk about what they think is wrong with America, and I think we need to hear more from people like this who not only came here from China to seek freedom and opportunity, but then endured the most horrible hell in Iran. He has a real story to tell about how great America is and the greatness of our country. Again, we had another returnee, Dr. Michael White, US Navy veteran. The Iranians lured him in to basically capture him. They didn't realize that they had a former Navy veteran who drove them crazy, and they really couldn't wait to get rid of him because he drove them absolutely nuts. But he was an interesting character and also a great story to tell. But this happened because of the Swiss. The Swiss, as our protecting authority, protecting power, negotiated these arrangements to be able to get these people home. And we're very grateful to the Swiss for doing that. One of the things that I experienced again on Veterans Day, I always went to, the first year I went to the British cemetery because I was told there are no Americans buried in Switzerland from the war. And I had heard that there were, and I put my team on to finding whether or not there were. And we found a lost American cemetery literally 20 minutes from the embassy in Bern. And this has now been memorialized. You'll see the plaque up there. There were 40 or 50 airmen who died in Switzerland and were buried there. And that's my defense attaché with me, who did a great job finding this cemetery. But this is the kind of thing that ambassadors should be doing. We can't let American soldiers lie in a country unremembered, forgotten. It's just was not something I could endure, and I'm really feel blessed that we were able to find these soldiers and give them the honor they deserve. Here I am in St. Gallen. If you ever go to Switzerland, I highly recommend. This is one of the areas that very few people get to, but it's in the northeast section of Switzerland, up near Germany, Bavaria. And this is the oldest abbey in Europe right now. And the book that I'm signing is from the 1500s. And it's the names that were in that book were just shocking to me. And it was truly an amazing experience. I highly recommend it and urge you to go if you get the chance. Here, we had many different people come to Switzerland who were very important in a number of the issues we were working on. Secretary DeVos helped us with the apprenticeships. President Trump, you'll see here, arriving in Davos for his second visit, which another bilateral meeting, more work on free trade. Here, Secretary Pompeo came in. We had a fantastic bilateral meeting with the Secretary of State of Switzerland and him. This picture on the right is a state dinner that we held at the residence. That's our dining room. And we had most of the important business and political leaders at that dinner. Ivanka Trump, who worked on workforce development, came in to assist. One of the things that I'm doing here, this is a air show. We had a long battle, not a battle, well, it was a battle. F-18s and F-35s were in the running to be considered against a French plane and a German plane to advance the Swiss military. We worked very hard to try and get either the Boeing or the Lockheed plane chosen. And we're very fortunate that we were able to get the F-35 chosen. This is me landing that is actually an American plane. It's the Swiss Air Force plane or helicopter, but it's an American helicopter. Swiss love American planes. This is the real fun part of the job, the strange and unusual outfits that you get to wear as ambassador. My tri-cornered hat over there was a big festival that old colonial that period that they all dress in. You see the lady next to me, she's actually a Swiss bodyguard, and she's got a machine gun underneath that cape because the previous ambassador, Ambassador Beyer, who's now a congressman from Virginia, wonderful man, he was marching in that parade and a car backfired, and that lady pushed him down on the ground and pulled out her machine gun. Fortunately, we didn't have that incident that time, but here we have on the other side the one of the events that we attended in Switzerland. My wife and I, again, highly urge you. On the right, you'll see the Lucerne Festival. If you get to Switzerland, there are many places you need to see. I said the St. Gallen and the Abbey. Lucerne Festival, they have one of the most amazing opera houses and symphonies. We went there numerous occasions, and really it was like nothing you could imagine. It's right there on the water. The other thing I urge you to do is get out in the countryside. This is Grindelwald, which is in the Bernese Oberland up in the Alps, and it's one of the most beautiful places. Right now, this time of year, this is when I really miss Switzerland, I have to tell you. And again, I just had on my Facebook, literally 2 days ago, a year ago, we were at this event. And at the end of summer, the cows are all brought down from the mountains, and they have festivals in all the little towns. And this is a real experience because they dress up the cows, and then they do these great festivals, eating and drinking all day and night. Really a special event. If you go this time of year, it's a wonderful opportunity. This is the back, on the left of the gardens of the embassy, overlooking those beautiful Alps on the right. That was our view every morning waking up. Margaret Ann and I felt extremely blessed to be able to call Blumenrain our home for 3 years and serve the American people and entertain from that amazing facility. It was, and the people that worked with us were fantastic. This is our family. Margaret Ann, myself, Katie, and Thomas. And we are carrying many of those memories. We've spent a lot of time in Switzerland before the ambassadorship, continue to spend time there, and urge all of you, if you get the opportunity, to do make that trip. It's an amazing country. They love Americans. They're a critical part of South Carolina's economy, and I hope to see it grow even more, and a very important part of American foreign policy. And if you get the chance, go by Liechtenstein, because Vaduz and the family, the castle in Liechtenstein is also an amazing sight to see. So with that, I'll be happy to answer any questions. Thank you for having me.
Appreciate you sharing your journey with us, sir. Folks, if you have any questions, we'll take those now. I don't see any in the chat box. Any questions, folks? We'll give maybe a couple minutes. So the plane, I'll ask you one. I saw, obviously, I'm a photographer, so I love pictures. I noticed, was that Air Force One or Air Force Two that you brought the hostages from Iran off on?
So that was actually the Secretary of State's plane. So that there's a smaller American plane. Actually, that plane did not go into Iran. The Swiss flew from Zurich to Iran to pick up both hostages, and then when they came to Zurich, our planes flew them back home. They had to go to Germany first to be checked at the base in Germany to be sure they were healthy. But that's how all that works.
Excellent. So this is a comment. If we ever go to Switzerland, can we use your name?
Absolutely. It's one of the great honors for me, because the Swiss are pretty critical. They're hard to bring along, and they need to feel comfortable with you. And many people told me, you'll never get to know the Swiss very well. They'll never invite you to their home. These are previous ambassadors. They never really melded. But I had spent enough time in Switzerland that I knew I had many friends who introduced me to Swiss people. So I was invited to San Moritz and to go skiing. I mean, I did a whole lot with the Swiss at their dinner tables. And so I had a couple of articles written when I left that said, and I'm not tooting my own horn, this is what was in the press, that my ambassadorship remained one of the most important ones in Swiss history for the US-Swiss relationship. So I'm very proud of that. And anyone who goes, please do use my name. If I can ever be of help giving you some ideas, happy to help.
Awesome. So we have a question here of what was the most challenging issue you had to deal with as an ambassador?
Well, I'll tell you, the most challenging issue was the Iranian hostages, because we, unfortunately, before our administration, there was not a mechanism by which to interact between the Iranians, the Swiss, and the US in a quick and effective way. And that's unfortunate, because not only are hostages a topic of conversation with the protecting power, but the JCPOA, the agreement between the US and Iran, which we pulled out of for a number of reasons, important reasons. I think we saw why. The Swiss were not, the Iranians were not following the agreement. So the president felt it was important we not make it a sham, and we pulled out. But one of the things that we were able to do was put together a mechanism by which we could actually communicate quickly, rapidly, and ensure that there were no misunderstandings. And I think that was a huge challenge. The other was when I went to the embassy and I told the staff, I want to move Switzerland from the 8th largest foreign direct investor to the 6th largest. I didn't just pick that number. I had to put a plan together of how we would get there. And that was possible because the president reduced corporate income taxes and reduced regulation, which made it attractive for Swiss business to come to the United States. So that was a series of events that we had to make happen. And I had a fantastic team. You don't get to go to Switzerland as a foreign service officer from the State Department until you've really paid your dues, because it's a critically important country and everyone wants to go there because it's so beautiful. So I had the blessing of some great staff, but also some phenomenal Swiss people who were on staff and really helped us get to those goals.
Here's another question for you. I've got this one and one more. I read personal guns are common in Switzerland and then almost everyone is qualified. Is that true?
This is one of the most interesting things about Switzerland and public policy. In the United States, we hear that, gun control is the way you stop murders and other issues, and that there's too many guns on the streets. The fact is, in every Swiss household, there are multiple guns, because they have a standing army which brings their guns home. The difference is that Swiss parents, mothers and fathers, teach their sons and daughters the the importance of that gun and also the dangers of that gun. And as a result, that training, that seriousness, that responsibility that the Swiss take for having those guns and having that in their home has the lowest death rate by guns in the world because of they take it so seriously. So, there's a lot of controversy in the US about whether we have, rights and shouldn't have them or what, but we do have them. They're in the Constitution. They are protected. The Supreme Court's protecting gun owners. The responsibility that comes with that is what we need to convey to gun owners in the United States. And we can learn a lot from Switzerland in doing that.
Excellent. And my final question for you is, how many staff did you have at the embassy?
That's classified, but we had, Switzerland is considered one of the mid-level embassies, and it's a classified number we can't discuss, but it's a good number of people, and we have them from all the different agencies in government are represented in the embassy as well. I did see one come up about illegal drugs, and that's an interesting question. I saw that question come up on the screen. Switzerland actually legalizes marijuana, and it has legalized. They don't legalize it as much as they do require people who are doing it to be monitored and see doctors for free and give them needles that, and as a result, you don't see a lot of drug addicts in Switzerland. It's really an interesting, I didn't delve into it as much as I'd like to have, but there's very little drug abuse in Switzerland. And the Swiss government takes on the responsibility of doing the monitoring and getting people help when they need it. It's a small country, so it's easier to do than it is in the United States as well. But and it's a very wealthy country.
Well, thank you very much for spending time with us today. We do greatly appreciate it, answering all of our questions and sharing your journey with us. And thank you again for being with us, sir.
Thank you all. Have a great week.
You as well. You as well.